Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. Hello from London. So today we're going to talk about Epigeum's teaching online training program. So it's a training program to empower your staff to create effective and engaging online courses. So my name is David Lefevre and I'm here with my colleagues Phylise Banner. Phylise is one of the main authors on the course and we'll sort of talk to you about the process and the context and how this course can help you. Annie is also here, and Annie's going to give a demonstration of the course and actually show it to you. So this is the agenda. So first of all, I'll give you a background to Epigeum because you may not know us, and we're a fairly unique organisation, and I'll give you an explanation of who we are and how we work. Then I'll hand over to Phylise, who will give you an overview of the teaching online programme, and then Annie will give a demonstration. So we'll have a chance for Q&A at the end. If you have any questions as we go through, please type them into the box and we'll try and answer them as we go along. And if not, then we'll wrap up any unanswered questions at the end. So I hope this is going to be valuable to you. It's a great set of courses and I hope you'll get a really clear idea of what this project is and how it can help you. So first about Epigeum. So we're from the UK. We were founded in 2005 as a spin out from Imperial College, which is one of the major colleges in London. We became part of Oxford University Press in May 2015, which is a department of Oxford University. So we're from the sector, we're fully owned by the sector, and we're non-for-profit. We're now the leading publisher of online courses designed to transform the way in which universities and colleges support their core activity of research, teaching and learning. So we don't produce training programs in the core curriculum. We look at areas around the core curriculum, research methods, statistics, how to conduct literature reviews, how to progress your research career, study skills, plagiarism awareness, and of course teaching, and which includes our topic today, how to teach online. And we've got about 78 courses across 12 different programs. We're based in the UK, but from the very beginning we've been global. So all of our courses are international in nature. We always have a strong US presence, as you'll see later on, and we work extensively across the world. We'll talk about shortly the unique thing about Epigeum is that we work in collaboration with universities, and you can see some of the countries involved here. So this is the twist, this is the unique part. So Epigeum came out of Imperial College. So my day job is running a department of educational technology at Imperial College. And we were building courses, but we were trying to build very high quality courses. So we were going through experiments that if we could build the best course we possibly could, what would it look like, etc. And we put an enormous amount of effort into sort of pedagogy, multimedia, all these things. And we were building really great courses, but what we learned was that it was very expensive. Too expensive for our college alone. So we started partnering with other universities, and we said to other universities, if this is very expensive for us all to do on our own, but if we come together and share the cost, it will be cheaper for everybody. So we started partnering with universities in the UK and Europe initially, and what we found was that by universities working together, not only was it lower costs, but through the peer review process and the broad testing, the courses were better quality. So we hit upon this way of getting courseware built, which was collaboratively. We then started partnering with universities in the US, and the project became very international. At this point, it became very complicated, as you can imagine. There's lots of sort of money changing hands and contracts and all kinds of things. So we formed Epigeum as a vehicle to manage this whole process. And Epigeum now has a life of its own. It's got roughly 70 staff, and it's part of the OUP, which is a fairly large academic publisher. So all our courses, including this teaching online course, was developed in this way, and we'll now show you a video which explains this process in a little more detail.
the story of an Epigeum course. We come up with an idea and we consult widely to develop and fine-tune it. We commission a team of expert authors to write it and a team of expert reviewers to help them. We commission a lead advisor who gives strategic vision and leadership. And we bring together a team of universities who form a development group to give feedback on our plans and prototypes and to make sure the product meets their needs. The collaborations we build are drawn from across the world and often involve input from over 50 academics, as well as our team of in-house specialists. Because we believe that collaboration and iteration are the key to producing truly innovative and effective products. So we bring everyone together for a launch workshop at the start of each project. It's a great mixing pot where the creative juices can flow and expertise can be shared. We provide a week-long training course for our writing team to make sure they're able to get the best out of the online medium. And we provide plenty of opportunities for sampling and feedback along the way through a detailed peer review process. In fact, a typical product goes through at least 5 iterations before it's ready to be built by our in-house developers. Together, we're more than the sum of our parts, and our unique and rigorous product development process gives all collaborators access to groundbreaking courses they couldn't have created alone. Here's what some of our customers have to say. Our products are used by over 200 institutions in 25 different countries. To find out more about the collaborations we're currently building, click on the Next Steps button or get in touch with us direct. We'd love to work with you.
Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what Epigeum is and how we build the course and how this course was put together. So once the course is built, we then make it available to other institutions, and that's really the topic of our conversation today. So in summary, there's a development group of up to 20 members, built the courses. We targeted the very best people we could find from anywhere in the world. In this case, like Phylise, all of the authors were from the US, which makes sense because the US is really taking a lead in online learning. They go through a meticulous review process, so they're not only reviewed by expert reviewers, an internal reviewer, but also by the universities themselves, and built around a pedagogically sound structure that we're very proud of and have evaluated extensively. One note here is on how these courses can be used. So when you're looking at the courses later, you can have in your mind that they can be used in different ways. So the first way is standalone online courses. So if one of your academic staff has a particular problem, say for example they want to assess online, or they want to move an existing course online, or they want to build a really great community of students, you can supply them with an online multimedia interactive course immediately at the time and place they need it. So this is self-study mode, but the advantage is you can really make it quite personal and release training on demand. It's the most flexible option. In the middle here we have tutor-supported online courses. So there's also additional activities that can be used by tutors. So tutors can be used to provide feedback that can't be provided by computers. They can grade additional assessments that the computer can't grade. They can work on community-based features. They can give motivational messages, etc. So there's a whole tutoring side to this that can be used if you have tutors. The advantage is that the courses are likely to be more effective, but you tend to lose flexibility because you'll tend to have a fixed start and a fixed end time. Finally, and this is a common use of the courses, they can be used as part of a blended learning program. And typically students or lecturers will study the online course ahead of a workshop, and the workshop will really focus on consolidation of the material and applying it within that person's particular area. maybe the most effective pedagogically and also the least flexible. So you have a spectrum here from the most flexible on the left to the most effective pedagogically on the right, and you can release the courses in all three modes at once, of course. So together it gives you quite an armoury on how to get your academic staff the support and training they need to move online. Okay, I'll now hand over to Phylise Banner, so our colleague. We're very happy, Phylise, to join us. Phylise is one of the primary authors on this course and was very engaged throughout the project. It's an area of particular interest to her, and Phylise is currently Director of Online Teaching and Learning at Union Graduate College. So thank you very much, Phylise, for joining us on this webinar, and I'll hand over to you now.
Thank you, David, and welcome everyone. My name is Phylise Banner. I'm joining you from upstate New York, where it's 2:43 in the afternoon, so I know it's evening time in the United Kingdom, but welcome from wherever you are in the world. I have been teaching and working in the online teaching and learning world for close to 20 years, and for the Epigeum project, I was privileged to work with a team of authors who have been in the industry just as long as I have, and you know, some of my mentors and colleagues. Karen Swan, Peter Shea, Jennifer Richardson, Norm Vaughan, and Dr. Lori Dringas. And our roles were to not only provide the content, but provide context through which our participants could learn in these environments. What's important, David mentioned before, was the collaboration we had, and many of the authors did come from the United States, but our reviewers were from around the world. So we really had the opportunity to bring together an international perspective to develop this teaching online program. So the course goals were very clear, that we were to focus on online pedagogy, course design, teaching and learning, the design delivery of the course, the technologies used to implement online teaching and learning, and student success. And I think it's important to note that last piece and why it was so important to include that student success piece. A lot of time as we're training faculty, and I've been working in faculty development for online teaching and learning for most of my career, is we're focusing a lot on what it means to teach in that online environment, design and teach, design, deliver. But we don't tend to focus on online student success, but this program focuses on every facet of that student experience, including success factors. So how can you as a faculty member help the student succeed, and how can students themselves succeed? So it's a big bonus in this package. The courses within the program are the Introduction to Teaching Online, Mastering Online Pedagogy, Designing and Developing Your Online Course, Being a Successful Online Teacher, Using Technology Tools for Teaching Online, and that last one, that Study Online, a Guide for Students, very key. So going through these phases, these courses, getting that introduction, what does it mean to teach online, what is online pedagogy, how does one master it, what does it mean to design and develop a learning space in that online environment? How do you succeed once you've designed that space in the delivery mode of your course? What tools and technologies help you be an effective teacher, instructor, tutor, and help your students learn in that engagement piece? And then that last piece that I spoke briefly about, that Study Online Guide for Students. So in the design process of the Epigeum programs are so many different facets and different approaches to learning materials. Video interviews, activities, interactive activities, reflection spaces, and exercises which foster learning communities. David spoke about those three different approaches to delivering the program, a standalone, a tutor-supported, or blended program, and I can imagine even more, because there's so many ways that you can use the program to build community and to work with your teaching staff, your academic staff, to learn in a way that's best for them, with the interactive activities, and then taking time to reflect on what they've learned, and not just what they've learned, but what online learning means personally. And a lot of that personalization can come into play in the course. This is just a quick look at some of the components of the Teaching Online program, and you can see there's some animations, there are some animated comic book style illustrations, and we'll see a lot more of that later as Annie takes us on a tour. But one thing that really stood out for me as we were writing and the way we were encouraged to write was really a very personal approach. So you'll see it's I already use, I would like to try, so that we're getting to trying to use the language and the visuals to engage the audience, to engage your academic staff, your teaching staff, your tutors in the learning process right here through the program. So the reflection piece is very critical in a critical component of this program, and I think in any online teaching and learning environment. So here's an online program to help you teach online, and incorporating reflection is so critical in this arena. So as you're working through the program, you have opportunities to explore practice scenarios. Like, what would you do if you were in this situation? What if I had design scenarios and didn't have the technology to support it? What would I be able to do? So these practice scenarios enable you to develop a portfolio, to save your ideas, to share your ideas, and you can save them as strategies. There's so many effective practice worksheets that you can work through so that you can develop your own new effective practices through these scenarios. And that reflection is so important, especially if you're new to teaching online. That reflection allows you to develop your own vocabulary to share with your community, and then get together in a community and share ideas and learn and grow together. So I want to talk a little bit about online pedagogy and give you a bit of a preview of the course and why we're incorporating the pedagogy, and not just this is how you do it, but why the pedagogy is so important. In the introductory courses in the program, we talk a lot about online pedagogy and how it's different from that face-to-face environment. But what we're really talking about are those theoretical foundations for the design of effective learning. Finding ways to teach online and translate what we do in, whether it's in a face-to-face classroom, in a blended classroom, but how we translate what we do in our teaching into that online space. And it's that the last line there, why we do what we do. That's the pedagogy. It's everything behind how we teach, the way we teach. So in that translation process, what's very important, these three questions are key to keep in mind. And these questions thread together throughout the entire program and every course, in the introduction, in the pedagogy piece, in the design, in the delivery, in the technology, even in the student success piece. These are questions that are popping up over and over again. And the questions that you're being asked as a participant in the course. So what do you want your students to learn? How will you go about getting them to learn? And how will you assess what they have learned? And this is so important. It's important in the face-to-face classroom. It's even more important in that online environment for you to think about these things. And this is that translation process. The online teaching program helps you go through these questions from so many different perspectives, and to answer them in your own voice, in that reflection, to share them, and also to get feedback on your, it allows for feedback on your answers to these questions. Okay, so the roles and responsibilities of an online teacher. And I include this here because we think about what does it mean to be a teacher in the classroom. We have our roles and responsibilities. Many of the roles and responsibilities are the same in the online environment, but they're amplified. They're amplified because our online students, in order to be successful, need community, interaction, feedback, and direction. And so we know we need this in the face-to-face classroom. We know we need this in any sort of teaching, whether it's K-12, higher ed. So how do we translate that into the online environment? So our roles and responsibilities don't fade away. We don't become a guide on the side in a learning space. We do, as online instructors, need to still build learning community. And again, as I spoke previously about those themes that weave through, in the translation process, the what do I want my students to learn, how will I get them to learn, and how will I assess their learning. These 6 roles and responsibilities are also woven through each one of the courses in this program. From a perspective of building a learning community in the design of a course, building a learning community from a technology perspective, building a learning community from a student success perspective. Each one of these is touched on, and these are key elements in formulating and building an engaging online teaching and learning environment. So, how does teaching online differ from face-to-face teaching? And I would typically ask you all of this in an open question and get your input here. But for each one of us, it's different. For every single one of us, it's different. And so what we try to do are find ways and to ask the questions that you can answer in your own words in this program, and that you can work through exercises, and also so that you can explore. So, again, we're answering these questions. How does teaching online differ from face-to-face teaching? But what the online teaching program from Epigeum allows you to do as an instructor, or your academic staff to do, is for them themselves to say how to explore that. How does my teaching differ in this online environment? And what can I do to make it excellent there? So I have just a couple more slides. I want to talk about the benefits of the program and the opportunities that you have when you integrate this in your institution. So certainly there are more benefits than listed on this slide, but just pulling out some highlights. You have insight and information and expertise from an incredible panel of authors and reviewers, and also the Epigeum community. David touched on the review process and that kickoff meeting where folks are really saying, these are the struggles I have at my institution. This is what I want to see. What does the future look like? Asking questions. So you have this great benefit of shared knowledge and expertise in this program. You have multiple modes of access to content, and Annie, when she gives you a tour, will show you a little bit of this, so that if you were a learner that's a visual learner, you have access to visual modes, you have audio modes, you have interaction, collaboration. So there are different ways to access the content. Guided assessments, and this is so important in learning for professional development and learning, even in that standalone environment, whether it's standalone, tutor supported, or blended. Even in a standalone environment, all of these assessments are guided. There's feedback, and as you're moving through the program, if you don't just know where you are or where you're going, you know how you're progressing along the way. It's very well designed so that you, as a participant in this program in each of the courses, you know how you're progressing and that you are being guided along the way, even in standalone mode. It's very well done. Real-world situational activities, so that you can develop the answer to that question, how does my teaching differ online than it does from the face-to-face environment? So a lot of those situational scenarios that we set up, what would happen if you were in a situation where you needed to pilot a new technology at your institution because it's something you wanted to use in your online teaching and learning? How would you go about that? So those situational activities, giving you the experience, giving you the opportunity to experience real life, those real life situations. And then associated resources and more to explore. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in the opportunity. So opportunities, the options for self-directed or facilitated, and I've mentioned that several times. David talked about that standalone tutor-supported blended, that integration into your learning management system so that you can work with others and create courses and have discussions that are closed discussions in that in your learning management system. Avenues for interpretation, analysis, evaluation, and reflection. Building a portfolio, a professional development portfolio as a faculty member, as an academic staff member, a tutor, is that gives you a showcase so that you can prove what you've learned. Again, we talk about how do we measure how our students have learned, how do we measure our own learning? So these avenues for analysis of your own learning, evaluation, reflection on your work, Whether it's private or shared, you have all of those opportunities within the Teaching Online program. The negotiation of meeting through collaboration, having those opportunities to work in that tutor-supported environment or in a blended space, being able to find meaning, build meaning together with your colleagues, and then to even go further on a specific topic. And that's through that last piece, is the hypermedia-enabled exploratory learning. And what that means, that's fancy language for lots of links. So you have the opportunity more to explore throughout the program in each one of the courses. So if you're more interested in finding more resources on course design, there's so many available resources for you there, links to go there, technologies that you may want to try that may be related. Also, there's so much hypermedia possibility, so many links and relational links within the program, so that you're building on your learning and you have that opportunity. As adults, we like to explore. Those links will enable you to explore, but still keep you within this learning environment. And the most important thing to me is that this course itself, these courses, this program, is a model of effective practices. So if you've never experienced any online teaching and learning, and suddenly as an instructor, you need to, you've been given a course, you've been told that you need to teach online, or as an administrator, you'd like to move your entire institution, a specific program online, how do you deal with developing your faculty? Not only is the Teaching Online program a magnificent resource and for doing that with content interactions and assessments of its own, but it's a model of effective practices based on research on how to create that engaging online teaching and learning environment. So I'd like to turn it back over to the Epigeum staff. I'd like to thank you all for sharing this with me, and back over to you, Annie and David.
Great, thank you very much, Phylise. I think that's made much clearer how this course can be used and the real value it brings, and lots of other things besides. So I think hopefully now you should have a clearer idea of what this is and how it can help you, and a whole variety of options available to you. The one thing we haven't done is actually show you what these courses look like. So I'll now hand over to my colleague Annie, who will show you some of the materials. We're going to show you them in our LMS, but they can be put into your own LMS, they can be adapted, and with all the flexibility and opportunities that Phylise has just presented.
Thank you, David. So I'm just going to give a quick demonstration of what the courses look like and some of the pedagogical features that they have. So this is just what the courses look like in our hosted LMS system, but most universities do tend to put them into their own systems. I'll just go into the course now. So every course starts with a welcome screen, and it just introduces the participant to the core course content. So here you can see the authors are listed for each course, the learning outcomes, the course structure, some of the course highlights, and finally the supporting universities that were involved in building this program. So now drilling down into the courses themselves, I'll firstly give you an idea of some of the program's features, starting by looking at the screen Social Media and Community Building from the course Using Technology Tools for Teaching Online. This screen concentrates on how to utilise social media applications in order to develop learning communities. So at the top of every screen we have a learning outcome, which indicates what's going to be covered in the screen and what participants should have learned or should be able to do after completing that screen. We also offer a screen duration, here 5 minutes, so that participants have an idea of how long it is likely to take to work through the screen, and also screens vary in length throughout the programme. So here we have an example of a note-making activity. Activities in the Teaching Online programme fall into two categories, presentational and interactive. Presentational activities are used to present key subject matter in an engaging way, rather than simply as flat text. Interactive activities require the participant to do something, whether this be entering text in response to a question, matching items, or putting items in order, and so on. This activity is an example of the latter. Organised as a series of slides, it prompts the participant to consider different questions and to note down their ideas. After each question, they can click to view feedback for further explanation. So I'll just demonstrate now. And at the end, they can print a summary of what they filled in here to take away with them. So further down the screen, we've got two examples of interactive polling activities. They're very popular aspects of our programs. Here, participants are first asked to select the social applications that they currently use, and then to indicate which applications they would like to incorporate into their teaching in the future. So when they click vote, they can see how their responses compare to those of their peers, and this helps foster a sense of learning community throughout the programme. You'll also see on the right-hand side of the many screens there are little clickable boxes, or as we like to refer to them as pods, containing extra information about the main screen content, as well as activities, documents to download, and links to further reading. So the type of pod here is a key terms pod, and it provides definitions for terms such as social media and wiki. Underneath, there's a useful links pod, which provides links to a relevant website and blog. And you'll notice we also have a video interview pod here. We try and use video and audio clips as much as possible in our programs, sometimes in pods and sometimes embedded within the main screen content. These are short and vox pop in style, and they bring the material to life, providing a variety of opinions and practical advice based on personal experience of instructors and students. So I'll just play a short sample of a video here.
Some years ago, actually I have to say some decades ago, I was teaching a graduate seminar in emerging technologies in the electronic media. And one of the challenges I found in the course was to encourage the students to identify quality research articles.
And it's also worth noting that all videos have a transcript for accessibility purposes here. It's also worth mentioning here that all of our interactive screens have an accessible counterpart containing flat text. Our accessible versions are compatible with screen readers and useful for those who are unable to use the interactive version for any reason. These have been developed with the help of our expert accessibility advisor at the University of Edinburgh. So I'll now visit a screen in our course called Studying Online, a Guide for Students, which is aimed at both students taking their first online course and teachers who wish to learn more about the online learning experience. So I've chosen this screen, Running Late, What to Do If You Fall Behind in the Course, because it shows an example of a comic strip. And this type of presentational activity helps to illustrate the principal learning point on the screen in a simple and fun way. So this example of a comic strip shows how to cope with time and deadline pressures. So a student has enrolled on a blended learning course and has trouble fitting in his university work alongside the demands of the job. He emails his professor asking for an extension to the deadline of his first paper. He then speaks to her in person. She's very supportive and reminds him that if he runs into problems again, he should contact her straight away before the deadline. And then, as you can see, Ken was able to work through this problem and submit his assignment by the revised deadline. So now I'm going to talk about some of the other features of the program which help the user to navigate through the courses. At the beginning of each course, there is a search function which allows the user to search for keywords or phrases and thus to find the screens most relevant to their interests. So here's a key term search in one of our courses. And you'll see that I'm now directed to the most relevant screens in the course to visit for this topic. Similarly, there is also a mapping tool in the first course on the screen, How to Get the Most Out of This Program. So this mapping tool here enables users to plan their own individual route through a program. Participants are asked to rate each of the topics covered in the program according to whether they are high, medium or low priority for them as an individual. So I'll just fill this in now. Then based on their responses, we are able to generate a printable summary of the screens within the program that are the most appropriate to their needs. Incidentally, it's worth highlighting that the glossary function here at the bottom of this screen. You'll notice that on some screens certain words or terms are highlighted in green, such as the term blended learning here. This indicates that the word can be clicked on to obtain a pop-up glossary definition. So to finish, I'll take a look at some of the extra resources available within the program. Supplementary portfolio activities are provided throughout the program in portfolio activity pods, such as this one here, to enhance participants' learning as they progress through the course. They are also available to download in a workbook format at the beginning of each course. So this is an example of an activity that invites users to think about how their institution might respond to the rapid pace of technological change in online learning. Users are encouraged to note down their suggestions. The aim is that these documents will help participants to think beyond the scope of the program and apply some of their new knowledge to their own contexts. Most portfolio activities can be completed by participants independently and do not require the use of a tutor. However, institutions may choose the products of the portfolios as part of a personal development review or to gain institutional recognition as part of a CPD program. So the activities could be used as a form of assessment. And then finally, at the end of each unit, we have a references and resource bank. So here we have a list of recommended resources, and these are fully customizable so that institutions can add or delete as many resources as they like. So I hope I've given you a good taste of the program content and some of the pedagogical features with this demonstration. If you have any questions, please do note them down now, or feel free to contact someone at Epigeum after the webinar. So I'll hand back to David now.
Great. Well, hopefully now you've seen the courses. You've heard Phylise talking about how they can be used and what they can achieve. We've told you a bit about the background to Epigeum and how the courses are built. So hopefully you now have a clear idea of how this can help you and what it is. We hope you really found it useful and are interested in using or piloting the courses. Okay, so thanks very much for attending this. It's a great course. I strongly recommend you contact us and arrange to get access to the courses, perhaps pilot them. If you're interested in doing so, then here's the next step. So if you'd like to access to the courses, please mail Annie on marketing@epigeum.com. We've also got a US-based staff teacher in the US who can help you. We're very friendly, very flexible, so hope you're interested in taking this forward. Thanks very much for attending, and I'll say goodbye. Phylise, do you want to wrap up?
Thank you, David. I just want to say thank you to everyone and have a great rest of your day. And I highly encourage you to explore the online teaching program from Epigeum.
Thanks, Phylise. Thanks for attending. Okay, bye for now.